Welcome to episode 8 of the Off the Pole podcast, where I talk to people from the pole industry to help you train smart so you can dance more. I'm Sarah Scott, and today my guest is the gorgeous Charlotte Robertson, owner of Live Love Bend, which provides online flexibility training and apparel. She's a champion pole dancer, having competed and won titles in the UK and abroad, and runs her successful pole studio, Charlotte Robertson's Pole and Aerial Fitness, as well as teaching workshops across the globe. We discussed her pregnancy and journey so far back to pole, what she's found harder than she thought, and tips for mums to be. Hope you enjoy our chat and cameo from her lovely son Arlo. Welcome, Charlotte Robertson, to my podcast.
Hello.
Hello. Your internet's so good and clear and shiny. It's actually nice to see someone for once. How are you doing, my love? Thank you for taking some time. I know baby's asleep, so he might wake up, but we'll see how we go.
He won't. That's what I'm always hoping for, more sleep.
More sleep, more sleep. So I've given you a bit of an intro on the video and the audio podcast, so I just wanted to maybe get you to describe a little bit about your journey so far through your pregnancy and kind of getting back to pole and things like that, just so people understand the timeline of, you know, when things happened, when things went down.
Okay.
Not like literally everything. You can cut off at, like, you know, where
there was this night. No, I'm kidding. So it was kind of, I can't actually remember exactly when I found out that I was pregnant last year. Some kind of time, end of February, March, so similar to now. I found that I was pregnant last year. And I basically, one of my main goals while I was pregnant was to keep poling through my pregnancy. It was something that I really, really wanted to try and achieve. Because I hadn't seen loads of people polling, but obviously, like you, it's the main thing that we do. So it was really important for me to try and keep it up in whatever way that I possibly could. I won't go like too deep ins and outs, but unfortunately we had some complications. So that meant that when I went for my 12-week scan, which is when they basically give you the AOK, like you're definitely pregnant and everything's okay and you can kind of continue on until your 20-week scan. Unfortunately, we had some complications, which meant I could have continued training, but emotionally and just generally I wasn't in a place where I really wanted to, in case it caused any more problems. Not that it would have done, but just in your head you want to protect your baby.
You want to be safe and just, you know, mitigate any issues that could happen.
Exactly. So I was quite, like, you know, obviously I was upset because of the complications, but also I then was really like, I don't want to train, I didn't want to do anything because I was really scared of, you know, hurting the baby. So I actually stopped training until I had a more in-depth procedure at 14 weeks. I had that done. But once I got the results from that, and I got that really quickly back, and everything was fine. I then, from about 16 weeks, then started getting back into my training. So I actually had a bit of a break, which was not intentional at all. And all the way leading up to the 12-week scan, I trained like as normal. And I was able to train as normal. Like I didn't feel pregnant, apart from my belly like growing. Like everything was still achievable. Which was quite nice to know, because I think, you know, like you think as soon as you're pregnant, you're not going to be able to do anything, but it actually is a really gradual process, and it's obviously over a long period of time. So I basically from 16 weeks began training again, and then had the 20-week scan. And then at the 20-week scan, I got the definite, like everything was fine with the baby. And from then I decided that I was going to perform, and I performed at 26 weeks. And then really from 26 weeks after I performed, I decided just to kind of
taper off
a little bit, and just did the things that I kind of really wanted to do and things I really enjoyed. I didn't have a structured training session every week. I just kind of went in as and when, and kind of chilled out quite a lot from that point, but continued teaching and everything else. So that was my pregnancy, basically.
In a nutshell.
So that was that. I carried on running until I was like 20 weeks, but I got SPD, which is issues with pelvis and pelvic pain and stuff. And it definitely seemed that like doing running and typically lunging, like I freaking love a lunge.
Love a lunge Wednesday. All the things. Cruel. Exactly. What a cruel turn of events.
So that kind of stuff was aggravating it. So again, like with stretching and stuff, I just had to kind of hold back a little bit, and I was, like I say, I was doing stuff, and that's why on my social media I kept saying, you know, I am doing this, but I'm not really like training as I was, because I didn't want to give the impression that I was still like going for it hardcore, because I really really wasn't. And yeah, so that was the pregnancy, and then he arrived at the end of October. So yeah, that was
little man.
yeah. So he arrived earlier than we had expected, earlier than planned, because he was a big boy. So they suggested that
Luke.
So they suggested that it would be better for me to be induced. Again, I won't go into the ins and outs, but basically they induced labour so that he came a little bit earlier. Otherwise, he probably would have been ginormous. And had an amazing birth experience. I found it very empowering, and I thought it was just amazing, the way that your body works and the way that it all happens. So that was really cool. But the recovery was way harder than I imagined it would be. I actually saw you, didn't I? Like a few weeks after he was born. A week after he was born.
Yeah, we came to do your pole camp at your studio, me and Leah.
Yeah, you guys stepped in amazingly, because I was in no fit state to be doing anything like that. And yeah, so that side of it was really, I found that much harder. I imagined that I would be like tired, and I imagined that I would be a bit sore, but I really, I was sofa bound for at least 2 weeks. I found just anything, walking was really tough, just generally a real toll on the body. So that was a bit of a shock to my system, to be honest, because I think with what we do, we're used to pushing our bodies. We also bounce back quite quickly. I think if we're ever injured, or we've got a niggle, really it doesn't take that long to kind of get over it. I think most of us, I'd say.
I think we just generally expect a lot from our bodies. If it's in pain, we're get over it, and there's a lot of mentality with pole dancers, I think, with pushing through, as you say. And so when you do have something like an injury, you see when people post about it online, if they're injured, or like yourself, not pregnancy is being injured, but you have to take a step back, and you see people's posts, they're in shock. They're what do I do now? I don't know, my body hasn't done this to me before.
Exactly. And it was just the fact that I thought that I would be, perhaps a few weeks later, being able to do a bit of Pilates, maybe, going for a few power walks and all of that kind of, but it just was such a shock to my body. And I think it is a combination of everything. You've given birth, which is the hardest workout of your life, 10 marathons. And then, you've also got the after, for me.
It doesn't just stop there. You have to kind of then look after a human.
Exactly, the recovery, and then you're trying to also look after a baby, and then just all of it is just it's quite overwhelming, probably is a good word. But I just so that was a big shock, and I'd kind of prepared myself. I thought I was I'm not going to train for a while. I'm going to have 3 months of work. I'm going to go back to training in January and just gradually build up so that I can go back to work in February, and that was all in my plan. And then before I knew it was December. And I was so far I've pretty much just eaten hobnobs and fed a baby. That's what I'm doing right now. And so it was quite a big shock to me, definitely. And especially with the fact that, my husband is massively supportive of everything I do. And even with all that support, it was still really, really tough. So that was quite a shock.
I think do you feel like there's a lot of pressure with social media and stuff, not necessarily from pole dancers, I mean kind of in general with the whole fitness industry as well, with people bouncing back from pregnancy into these ridiculously good figures, and that's putting a lot of pressure on people to feel like they have to do it in a couple of weeks. Some people are posting back in bikinis and things. Do you think that was in your mind, even though we say it's not going to affect us and we will push past and we'll listen to ourselves? Do you still think that played a role in you wanting to get back quicker, you expected people, you thought people would expect you to get back quicker, or is it more for yourself, you wanted to get back training for your own kind of mindset and health?
I think I wanted to get back training because I didn't want to let myself go. I know that sounds really funny, but I didn't want to get into a situation where I was 6 months down the line and then hating my body because I hadn't done anything about it in the early stages. Probably the most where it stemmed from, I suppose, is I didn't want to just sit on the sofa and eat hobnobs. And
there's a part of all of us that wants to do that, so don't worry, you're not alone there.
I kind of so I didn't want to be lazy, I guess is the point. I didn't want to be lazy with it. but I don't think I was lazy. I think I definitely like listened to my body, and I think I gave myself the time that I needed. And it wasn't even until January that I was like, okay, I'm ready to like get back to doing something. I really need to add though that I did one thing that I did really do, and I stuck by the day after that he was born, was I started doing all my core engagement stuff. So I was trying to engage my core, do all my pelvic floor exercises, which obviously they tell you to do, but do all of that every single day.
I think I saw some videos of you doing that, like in like on all fours, and you're kind of like just breathing in and out through the stomach and things.
Exactly.
I saw you post that really, really early.
Yeah, so I was making sure that I was doing stuff like that basically, like right from day one. So yeah, so I was doing my core engagement exercises every day, and then I was trying to incorporate maybe like 5-10 minutes in the evening, like when we were able to start putting him like down, because that's the other thing, like they literally rule your life. Like they especially when they're tiny, like I know that's obvious because it is it's going to change your life, but you can't do anything. Like you can't even brush your hair. Like you can't even find 2 minutes to use those like 5 minutes to do something that's quite selfish, for yourself. Core engagement stuff is actually really hard to do because there's like a million other things that you haven't done that day that you could do with like doing in that time. So it's really like, we had a conversation quickly before, but about prioritizing things and also making sure that you count yourself as a priority, not just the washing and the hoovering and all the other stuff. I think that's really important. So so I think it's really important, even though I wasn't like back to training as soon as I expected to be, I definitely was really trying to do that kind of stuff and it was more about getting the feeling back, because it was a big shock to my system that when he was born, I literally felt like a slinky. So I felt like my rib cage was sitting on my hips and that I had nothing in the center. So I was just like wobbling around all the time.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest feeling, because even when you're pregnant and you don't have the core engagement, the same as when you're not pregnant, it's like tight. It's still tight and you're able to use it. And like, I could do burpees at like pretty much the day before he was born. I could still do all of those kind of things, planks, all of that kind of stuff. But I was like literally like a slinky.
You didn't look like a slinky when I came to see you. You looked radiant when we came round. We were like, you look really good. Like, what? That's not fair. You're giving us hope, though. That was all good. That was good.
I definitely think those first few weeks, though, it's just like you're on adrenaline. So like when I saw you guys, I was definitely like, you're in the moment. Like you've had your baby, you're bursting with love. You're the sleepless nights, you can still manage them at that point. Like everything's still really exciting, and you're definitely running on adrenaline. And then I think it's like now that it hits you, like when you're still getting up in the night, you're like, shit,
baby just won't grow up quick enough.
Oh, I'm so sorry. He is
why
going to probably be awake shortly, but and I've probably got like snot on me somewhere. So
good. It makes it more dramatic.
Sorry,
that's what the people want to see. They want to see you covered in spittle, not looking all glamorous. That's not what we want. No, if it's fine. You can hold him.
Yeah, when he's awake properly, I will, and like that's fine. But at the moment, he's like, he wakes up when he doesn't mean to wake up, but he can't put himself back to sleep. Then he's like a gremlin. So he's just gone back to sleep now.
Oh, bless him. Well, he's welcome on the podcast too, and then
I'd like him to be on when he's happy.
Yeah, it's fine. Come on, perform, child.
Yes, I know. I just can't get the stuff off.
No, it's fine. We understand. If you need to go, and if you need to get him, you need to get him. Oh, hi.
Who's that? Say hi, Sarah.
I'm jealous of his hair.
I shouldn't expose you to such beautiful ladies this early on, and your expectations are going to be started by.
Have you stopped crying now? Have you woken up? Ready for the world?
Oh. Are you?
Not really.
Are you? Should we do this? Should we do it?
He's like, no, don't want to. We could do it. I believe in you, Arlo. Come on. First
Arlo.
podcast.
Let's do it.
He's like, oh.
Oh, okay. I know I'm boring, but it's okay. Oh, is that what you think? What do you think about it all?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very good points raised.
Right, so...
He's so cute. I'm going to try not to get distracted.
Okay.
Honestly, like, how do you get anything done? Because I would just sit and look at him all day.
I don't. Okay, so where were we? January.
January, doing exercises, getting back to it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was... So then I started going to some classes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where I am.
Which classes did you start off with?
So I started with Pilates, which was really freaking hard. So I've been teaching Pilates now for nearly 10 years, and Pilates has been the hardest thing to get back to because it is just so focused on the area that is obviously the weakest after having a baby, and because it's, you know, all about engaging your deep core muscles. It's so boring, isn't it? So yeah, I went back to that first, and that was really hard. And again, that was a bit of a shock to the system because I was kind of thinking, Pilates would be a nice way to get back into everything, but actually that was harder than, you know, some of the pole stuff, not all of the pole stuff, but some of the pole stuff. So I started going back to some classes, and it was really just to like ease me in. So that's how I got back into work basically. So I started going to Pilates and then to like a pole class on a Thursday morning and etc. And then I've eventually taken over those classes. So because they were originally mine. Mm-hmm. So I've now gone back to teaching those classes. So yeah, that was like the way that I kind of eased back into it. I did my first pole training session at 6 weeks. And that was, I posted a big post about that, but that was really hard and really interesting. Like the stuff that, you know, muscle memory that I've been able to do during my pregnancy. So like things like crazily like INX and lifting to a handstand and all those kind of things, they came back. Like I was still doing those. But like knee lifts, because you don't do it when you're pregnant because your belly is in the way, to actually then perform that like postnatally when there is no longer a belly, but there's also no like engagement there, was really, really hard. Like, I mean, like I said, I did post because it was just the reality of it was that there was things that I could do.
I guess like the order of stuff is a little odd. Like you think, you should be able to do the easiest stuff first, inverted commas, building up to the hard stuff. But you know, if your shoulders are still really strong but your core is weak, then you're going to be able to do quite a lot of like arm only, like handspring type stuff. But then the knee lifts and the more beginner stuff is actually going to be pretty difficult.
Definitely. And climbing, like without, I mean, it's funny, but without making too much of a joke of it, climbing, like lifting your knees up, so it's like core, but also then like squeezing your legs together.
Squeezing your legs together is hard. Oh, look. You want to stand up? We'll just pretend that he's speaking, not you.
Yeah. It's your podcast.
He's like, screw your podcast. I just woke up. Yeah, a bit of food. That shuts everybody up.
It's better? Maybe? Okay. So, yeah. Okay, hit me with a question to fire me back up.
All right, so when you were posting pictures on your Instagram, because you did INX pretty much throughout your pregnancy, did you get any backlash from people? Because I know some people get funny about like people polling when they're pregnant and things like that. Did you get any comments, or was it all fairly positive where people are like, yes, fair play, you're still going?
Maybe behind my back, but like no, nothing like on the social media. Nobody was negative. I think I really tried to make it clear the whole way through that, you know, I was only doing things that I felt comfortable to do. And also that like doing, and like I said a minute ago, but it is muscle memory rather than like it is technique obviously, but now it's more muscle memory of being able to do that trick, I think, because like I said, I could do that as soon as I walk back in the studio. Like I could lift a handstand as soon as I walk back in the studio. Those aren't things that like you know, someone else postnatally obviously is going to be able to do. The only negative thing I had actually was when the paper, I got a call from the paper. I don't even remember, there was like a story that they posted. It was all online, it wasn't in the paper, but and one guy, random man, I can't remember what his name was, he like commented something, but I can't even remember.
Did he mansplain you about how you should be looking after yourself more?
Yeah, probably. I think it was more, he his kind of whatever he wrote was more like not everyone would be able to do that. It was almost like he was saying, so if you're pregnant, you can do that, which wasn't the case, obviously. Like,
no, everyone's obviously different, and everyone, I think what a lot of people, because a lot of people have posted along your journey and they've been very inspired. You've given a lot of us hope to be like, we use our bodies so much. So it can be a scary thing to go through pregnancy and obviously, the big breakaway. But also I think it's been really positive for people to see that you can't just jump back into things. You can obviously do some things that are incredibly difficult to some people postnatally, but I think you've listened to your body so well and actually given a very realistic time frame for people to follow, or not to follow themselves, but like it's a realistic time frame to see someone else go through it and actually see like you don't have to rush, you can listen to your body, do the exercises properly, it's little and often, to kind of taper yourself back into training. And your body will remember stuff. You've just got to give it time to catch up with your brain about like what it wants to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also like without playing a like mini violin, you are also like when you're feeding, because I was feeding him up until like really recently, when you're feeding, your body still isn't recovering fully because you've got all those hormones going through your body to be able to do that for your baby. Also like just the sleep deprivation, like it plays a massive part. Like if you ask anybody to go in and train after having like 4 hours sleep, that they're going to be pretty crap as well.
Yeah, it's not it's not the easiest thing to do on a day-to-day basis, because it's multiple days in a row, isn't it? It's not just like, I had the odd day where I didn't sleep that well. It's like a week, month, 6 months of sleep deprivation that people have to deal with.
Exactly. And I think and also like when you're pregnant, like I didn't sleep for the last like few months of my pregnancy because you're just so massive, like moving around in bed is such an issue. Like I was hungry all the time as well. So, like a combination of all those things. It's been, like you say, months and months of not sleeping, not just like a couple of nights. And I think what I find really funny is I've obviously followed holistic lifestyle coaching for a long, long time now. And that's all to do with like getting your 8 hours, going to bed at 10, waking at like 6:30, 7, only eating like, your carbs before the evening and all of that kind of stuff. And it's literally just goes out the window. Yeah. Like
throws that on its head.
Like whatever you get to, whatever gets you through. And I think that's fine for a while. I think it's good. I think it's good to do that actually. And to just, like you say, listen to what your body wants. And I think it's the one time, and I think I felt it with being pregnant as well, it was the one time where I could just do whatever I wanted, like train for what I wanted to train for, not because I felt like I had to train to keep my workshop content or anything. I felt like, I'm just going to go and train to enjoy training. And if I don't want to train, then I don't train today.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you feel the same. As much as we love what we do, there are points where you just think, I could do without that, like today, or I could do with having a little bit of a rest or whatever. So I think it's been good opportunity to kind of step back and see the bigger picture.
Reevaluate why you want to do it and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah, and even now, like going back to it, feeling like when I go in, I just do the things I want to do. I haven't got any expectation of myself, and that's really cool. Like I go in and I like aerial invert and I'm like, woohoo, winning. Whereas before, you want to get that new trick, or you want to,
the pressure of always trying to post like new stuff and keep up with everybody. I think everyone needs to take a step back sometimes, regardless if you're gonna get preggers or not. I think we all need to remember that sometimes.
Definitely. And I think it does really help you see the bigger picture, remind yourself why you're doing it, and remember how much you love it. You're gonna say hi?
You look a bit happier now you got food.
Yeah, yes. Just like me. Yeah?
He's taking a minute to just take it all in.
That's
That's baby sneeze if I keep that audio in.
Oh, so I think that's really, really nice. And I'm like loving training, and just because everything feels like a win, which is really, it's like when you first pole and you do like a fireman spin, and that's a massive win and you feel amazing when you leave. And now I feel like that too, and it's really nice not to have any expectation of myself.
That's cool.
But I also really wanted to add, sorry, I know I'm rambling, but
no, you carry on.
Something I think was really important to say, and obviously all the mums out there are going to totally know this, but it changes daily. So like if we did this podcast tomorrow, I'd probably say completely different things because things change so quickly. Like, by tomorrow he might have slept through the night and I'd be feeling like a new woman, or, it just changes so quickly. Like they change so quickly. Are you okay? They change so quickly, but just the way you feel about things and the way that you feel about your body, like one excuse you.
You're right. He's smiling now.
Are you burping? Look, yeah, one day you could feel amazing about it because it's amazing that you've grown a baby and you've managed to get this far, and then the next day you could feel rubbish about it because it's not how it used to be, or whatever. So yeah, it's ever changing. Well, just on the last couple of things, and I will let you go because you've got babies to look after and stuff. I did post in the group and asked if any questions, if anyone had any questions for you. Really try not to be distracted. Emma Temple said you're one of her biggest inspirations. She's 22 weeks pregnant and says it's thanks to you that she's actually carried on training through this pregnancy, and she'd like to know if you have any tips on maintaining core strength, or is that something that, as you said, you're just going to have to wait and see what happens and then just get back to the exercises quickly when you finally get your birth? Yeah. I think so. That abdominal core engagement stuff that I did quite soon after, I did also throughout my pregnancy as well. So I posted a video. I think I posted a video before, and it was me really heavily pregnant, and I was able to draw my tummy in. And although I might not have posted it, I should post it one day. And it's almost like there's no bump there. So you're actually being able to draw in your core muscles. So I did it all the way through my pregnancy, and it's obviously really safe because it's just diaphragmatic breathing. It's not crazy, it's not crazy core or anything. So it's just focusing on breathing and engaging, zipping up through your pelvic floor and then wrapping around with your rib cage and thinking about knitting your rib cage together. So I would highly recommend doing that. And although it seems very simple and really like you're not doing anything, I think that went a long way for then being able to do that afterwards and quite soon afterwards, because when you speak to a lot of people who aren't necessarily as fit as some of us, who pole, but they can't feel their pelvic floor after at all. Whereas I didn't have that issue. Even though nothing worked quite as well as it probably should, it still was there, and I could still feel it, and I could still apply that exercise. So I do think that went a really long way. Pilates as well. I'm a big fan of Pilates, and I think in fact, your core essentials program, lots of stuff in there is very, similar to the Pilates training and stuff.
Yeah, it's very Pilates based.
Yeah, and it just goes such a long way to just preventional exercises as well as rehabilitational exercises. So I think Pilates, I would say, alongside polling for as long as you feel comfortable to do so. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Nice. Well, I will let you go because I know that he probably wants your attention now, and you've already given me plenty of your time. But that was really, really informative. I think a lot of people just wanted to know, they want to know if it's going to be okay if they come back from having a baby, and it's just so nice to hear your side of the story and to see how you've gone through it and how you produced this little creature who's just gorgeous.
Crazy hair.
I know, I love it. It's so cute. But yeah, I'll let you get on.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing I just wanted to add, because I did write some notes down of things that I really wanted to, get across as well. But with flexibility, the regression of flexibility, I think, is something that you expect because you're not training as much because you need to protect your body. But that definitely even now, so hard, and I'm so far away from where I was even when I was pregnant. That's something that's definitely not come back, easily. Whereas the strengthening, I think every week you get stronger with or without exercise, you start to your body starts to build itself back up again. But the flexibility, it's just a reminder of how hard you have to work to stay flexible. It's not something that sticks around, unfortunately. And I think I probably will do a post on it soon because it's quite a dramatic change. And that was something obviously I really, really loved training. But yeah, so
I'd love to get you back on for a part 2, because I know you're only just getting really back into teaching and training properly now, so it'd be great to kind of check in again in whenever you feel ready, and then we'll see how you're getting on then, as we can document your journey. I'm going to link everything with this will be on YouTube, and also the podcast will be on my website, and I'll link in the blog transcript some of the videos you've mentioned. I'll link to your website, they can check you out. The Live Love Bend has got a spanking new website, and also your Facebook group, which is all online flexibility, which is really, really informative. I'm one of the members on there, and the weekly classes are awesome. And so if any, like, you've done some blogs yourself on like your journey back to pole as well, so I'll put those in the transcript as well for people to go and read. So thank you very much, gorgeous. Bye, baby Arlo.
Say bye.
Bye. He's like, whatever.
Say bye.
Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I think it's such an important message to listen to your body as much as she has, and I love how honest and realistic she's been about her journey back to pole. If you want to check out anything that we've been talking about in this podcast, then just head to the blog section of the Off the Pole website, where you'll find the full interview as a transcript and all of the links in there. I'll also link to Charlotte's social media so you can make sure you're following her if you're not already. Hope you guys enjoy these podcasts. You can hit subscribe in iTunes to keep up to date with the latest episodes, and please feel free to always drop me a message and let me know what you think.